Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Okay, for this video I'm gonna do a shade review for, as you can see, I'm sure you've all seen my previous video of me unboxing MAC Studio Fix Fluid and MAC Studio Fix Powder plus foundation, and I said that I just purchased a new foundation, another shade, which is in the shade NC25. As my previous shade, it was darker for me. So here I am. I'm gonna, as I said in my previous video, I'm gonna do a shade review on the shade NC25 on MAC Studio Fix Fluid. Now this is not a first impression review. This is more like a test, more like a first impression of the shade, just to test if this shade NC25 matches my skin tone. And then after I do a shade review on the Studio Fix Fluid, I will also do a shade review on the Studio Fix Powder plus foundation. So let's get started. So I'm gonna apply MAC Studio Fix Fluid foundation with a brush. Okay, first impression, the shade is a little light for me, but of course, you know MAC, they oxidize, so they get darker over time. Okay, next is I'm gonna use a concealer brush to conceal some imperfection on my face. Okay, now that it's covered, I'm gonna use a sponge to blend everything, just to make sure that everything is stay in place. Okay, now that I'm done applying the foundation, and as you can see, it looks like it has slightly oxidized, but we're about to find out and see. And let's wait for this foundation to set dry. Let's just wait for this foundation to set and to see how it goes and see how it goes if it gets even darker after a few minutes. Okay guys, now that the foundation has set, and looking at the foundation, it looks like it has oxidized after minutes have passed, and as you can see, it looks like a shade match. As for now, it looks like a shade match. I mean, the foundation doesn't look like it's lighter than my skin tone, especially if you can see in my neck. I'm not wearing foundation on my neck, so there's not much of a difference. So anyway, move on. I'm gonna do a review. I'm gonna do a first impression review of this MAC Glow Play Lip Balm. I got in the shade 454 Floral Coral. So let's test this, how moisturizing this is, and we'll see if the color is a good color. To be honest, at first I didn't like the color, so we'll just see. Okay, there's as you can see, it definitely has a hint of color, and it's not red. It's not looking red. It doesn't look red, and it still has that coral color look. But it feels moisturizing. So let's see how long lasting the moisture of this lip balm is. So right now I'm gonna review the shade of this foundation, just to see if it gets darker after time passes. I didn't wear primer, and I'm not gonna set this with powder, just to see the performance of the shade NC25. So I'll see you guys later. Okay guys, let's try to blot my face with blotting paper. Hello guys. Okay, it's been almost 11 hours since I applied this foundation in the shade NC25. So here's my thoughts on how this shade NC25. Is it really a good match? As you all know, when I first applied this morning, it was a shade lighter than my skin at first application, and then after minutes have passed, it's starting to oxidize, and it almost blends with the color of my skin. And right now, as time has passed, this is how the color of the foundation looks like. Just to let you know, I didn't wear any primer, and I didn't set this foundation with powder, just to see the performance of this foundation if it really oxidized, because primers and setting powders helps prevent the foundation from darkening. So I use this foundation alone, and here it is. About 6 hours have passed. My face starts to produce oil because I didn't powder, and I noticed that with oils on my face looks dull, and it looks a little darker than my skin, and there was a slight difference between the color of the foundation and my neck. And I filmed myself on removing the oils on my face with blotting paper, and then after I remove all the oils on my face face looks fresh without oil. I noticed that when my face looks fresh, the color of the foundation doesn't look that dark. It looks like my natural skin tone. I recorded myself and I did post a video of myself that there wasn't much of a difference in color after I blot my face with blotting paper. After removing the oils with blotting paper, my face looks fresh, and there was not much of a difference in color between the color of the foundation and between my neck. And right now, it's been almost 11 hours, and I would say that the shade NC25 is a good color match for me. Yeah, so all I have to do is so when I use this foundation, I'm just gonna have to use a primer and set it with powder just to help reduce the oils on my face, and with the help of the primer and powder, it will prevent it from darkening, because primers and powders helps prevent the foundation from darkening. But even with the NC37, my previous shade, even if I set it with primer and powder, it's still dark for me. So NC25 is a perfect match for me, while my previous shade NC37 was dark for me. So yes, definitely I'm an NC25 in MAC Studio Fix foundation. Here's my review on the MAC Glow Play Lip Balm. Now let me just reapply this because my lips starting to look dry. Okay, I enjoy applying this lip balm because after applying this lip balm, it feels really moisturizing, and I really like the plump and moisture effect. Of course, that it feels so moisturizing on the lips that it feels comfortable on the lips. But for the color, I know it looks a little pink on my lips, but it's not really that obvious that I look like I'm wearing lipstick. But it seems that the color, floral color, is kind of a good color. It doesn't make my lips look obvious that I'm wearing lipstick, thankfully. So yeah, I enjoy this. But for the hydration of this lips, it's not really that long lasting. In first application, it's really hydrating and moisturizing on the lips, but after many hours have passed, the hydration fades, and especially when you eat and drink, the lip balm fades on my lips. So after, of course, mostly whenever I apply lip balms and when I eat and drink, the lip balms fades on my lips. So I just have to keep reapplying this lip balm after eating and drinking. But this MAC Glow Play lip balm, I highly recommend this lip balm for anybody who wants to try lip balms from MAC. And of course, MAC is a good brand for all their products. So definitely try this lip balm. Just to let you know that I'm sure you saw my unboxing video, that this lip balm here is actually free. I got this free when I purchased the MAC Studio Fix fluid together with the MAC Studio Fix powder plus foundation. I got this for free, together with the pouch. Okay, so that ends my review for the shade NC25 and with the lip balm. So I'm gonna do a review on the shade NC35 with the Studio Fix powder plus foundation. So I'll see you in the next video. Hello guys. Okay, for this video, I'm gonna do a review on the shade NC35 with the MAC Studio Fix powder plus foundation. So let's review if this shade NC35 in their powder plus foundation matches my skin tone or not. Because in my previous video that I did an unboxing of MAC, I got in the shade NC30, and after using it for a while, I realized that the shade was a little light for me and it was too yellowish for my skin tone. So I look at their shade range and I thought that maybe I should try NC35 because this is a shade darker than NC30, and the way I see the swatches, it doesn't look that yellow. So we're gonna try NC35 just to see if it works for me. So let's get started. So I'm gonna use two makeup tools. When applying powder foundation, I'm gonna apply with a damp sponge because when using a damp sponge, it also gives a full coverage finish. And the other one is I'm gonna use a velvet puff. Even velvet puffs can give a full coverage when using powder foundation. So I'll use two makeup tools on applying this powder foundation. Now this is how I apply. First I start with the nose and then spread it the rest of my face. I like to apply here at the tip of the sponge. This is how I apply it. And I got and this is how much product I pick up. Now let's see. First impression, the shade NC35 doesn't look yellowish for me. It looks like it's just a balance between warm and neutral, which is I like that color. In between warm and neutral. This is how the color of the foundation looks and compared to my natural skin tone. I know on camera it looks like it's lighter, but in personal it's not that light for me. Compare the NC30, that was a shade lighter than, a little lighter than my skin tone. So now that I apply with a sponge on this side, now I'm gonna apply a velvet puff on this side. This is how much product I have picked up. You know what's great about this MAC Studio Fix Powder Plus Foundation, that even as a powder, it gives a nice coverage, that it actually covered up my blemishes and my dark spots. And it even covered up my dark circle. It even covered up my dark under eye circles, as you can see. Okay, this is how the finish looks like, and I don't know if you can tell, but there's not much of a difference in color from the color of the foundation in between my neck. But let's not jump into conclusion. We'll just have to test the color of this foundation later and to see if this also oxidizes. So let me finish the rest of my makeup. And again, I'm gonna apply the Glow Play Lip Balm. Okay, this is the final look. So I'm gonna test the color of this powder plus foundation just to see if the shade NC35 is a perfect match for me. So I'll see you later. Hello guys! Okay, last and final update of me reviewing the shade NC35 with the MAC Studio Fix Powder Plus Foundation. Now, does the color NC35 a good match for me? Well, let me tell you. The shade NC35 is definitely not too yellow. And like I said this morning, the color is in, it has a perfect balance between neutral and yellow undertone. So I would say that yes, it's definitely a good match. And the shade is not light, and it's just the right color for my face. And as you can see, there's not much of a difference between the color of the powder foundation and between my neck. And I would say that the powder doesn't really oxidize much. Compare with the Studio Fix Fluid Foundation, that foundation oxidized, but for the powder plus foundation, it doesn't really oxidize much. Just a slight, there's a slight darkening, just slight darkening, but that's not much of a problem because it doesn't look dark. I would say that this shade NC35 is a good match for my skin tone. I'd say NC35 is a good match for my skin tone. Yes, and this is, just to let you guys know, this is not a first impression review. I already tried this with the shade NC30, but if you like to know what my experience with this powder plus foundation, let me tell you, the powder plus foundation has good coverage. It actually covered my blemishes well, but for this pimple here, it didn't cover much. But for my dark spots and my under eye circles, it actually covered them pretty well. So yes, the powder plus foundation has good coverage, and for its longevity, I'd say that the powder plus foundation has good performance in its longevity. It lasts long on my face. I've been wearing this powder plus foundation for almost 11 hours, and there's not much creasing. There's no creasing and there's no fading. Not even in my mouth area, especially here in my chin area. There's no fading. I don't know if you can see it. There's no fading, there's no separating. It just stays in place in my mouth area. So unlike liquid foundation, a lot of liquid foundations I've tried, they kind of fade and separate in my mouth areas. But for this powder foundation, it didn't separate, it didn't fade. So yes, longevity for the MAC Studio Fix Powder Plus foundation is really good. And just to let you know that I don't think this powder foundation has sweat resistant effect, because this morning when I went to work, I sweat a lot, and I don't know if you can tell here on my forehead. I don't know if you can see there's little cakiness on my forehead because I was sweating. But if you look at this far, it doesn't look obvious that it looks cakey. But if you look at it closer, there's a little cakiness because the sweat and powder were mixed, and it looks cakey. So I'd say that the powder foundation doesn't perform well in sweat resistance. So I'd say you definitely need to use a setting spray to keep the powder foundation from caking. That ends my review for the MAC NC35 in Studio Fix Powder Plus foundation. So I hope you guys enjoyed my review for the MAC Studio Fix Fluid foundation in the shade NC25, and my shade review for NC35 for the MAC Studio Fix Powder Plus foundation. And thank you for watching, and if you do, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that notification button to follow more of my reviews. If you have any questions and suggestion or a request, just type it down at the comment section. And please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys on my next video. Bye.